Ladies and gentlemen, we're outside the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. We have with us a very special guest on the Exceptional Conservative Network, the Reverend Derek McCoy, who is with CURE. You know, the organization that Star Parker heads here in Washington, D.C. Reverend McCoy, you're out here in front of the Supreme Court today fighting for Jack Phillips. Why are you fighting for him?
Well, because Jack is just like many of the citizens that you and I both know. I was just talking to somebody recently. One of my good buddies that's been with me for years and years is a pastry chef. Went to Johnson & Wales, got educated, and is now a pastry chef. Matter of fact, just did my own cake with my 25th anniversary.
All right.
But in that, he's a good, God-fearing Christian man. He has been taught principles of faith. He believes deeply in the things that he knows and lives out in terms of his faith. But he's an entrepreneur. He's a business guy. This guy isn't a preacher, but he's the guy that is taking care of his family, taking care of his wife, taking care of the things he needs to take care of because of the unique talents and gifts that he has, that he's applying them to pastries and to pastry arts. And so he does beautiful cakes, wedding cakes, all sorts of different cakes. But if he was asked the same question like Jack's about, hey, would you do this cake and symbolize a same-sex wedding? He's going to probably say the same thing. He doesn't believe in that institution that, you know, marriage is fundamentally between one man and one woman, not one man and somebody else. And it's not a disrespect to those people, but he's just a citizen. And a citizen that many of us oftentimes look at, and we talk to people about and educate them about this great country we live in and say, be entrepreneurs, be great, be business people, be leaders, change the dynamics of your community. And he's doing just that. But to then have the government infringe and say you can only do it in a certain segment, you have to check your religion at the door, you have to check your faith at the door, you can't have your beliefs, your personal aspects, your freedom of speech, freedom of religion, everything else checked, and then you can only operate in this narrow framework and with your gifts and talents. I think that's a travesty and an incredible step back for our country. And that's not the America that I know.
Reverend McCoy, are you saying that religious rights trump civil rights in America?
You know what? I think I do. I am saying that. Because, see, we live in a country where we're talking about within the context of in the framework of our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, we have the right, the freedom of religion is a fundamental right for us. And that is a right that, if you look at it, that does not say the government is supposed to infringe and control that religion. It says that we have the freedom to express it any way that we have, any way that we are. As citizens of the United States who deal with the civil rights aspect, because look, I happen to be African American, if you didn't notice, but if you understand that, you know, I am a black man, but I'll tell you this, I'm a Christian man who happens to be black, is the way I often tell people. Now, I'm not denying any part of my blackness. I didn't check my black card. But blackness, for me, is an immutable characteristic that I cannot change. I came out of the womb this way. I'm going to go to the grave this way.
Got to follow up on that particular question. Are you saying as a religious leader in America that you have the right as a business owner to not provide businesses to those who demand it?
Absolutely. I am saying that. Because, see, if we live in an America that's free, then we're able to say, you know what, I can't really honor them. And if you look at the case of Jack, it's about a guy that took in a client that came to his desk and said, hey, look, this is what we'd like you to do. He said, you know what, based upon my artistic ability, think about it this way. He doesn't even know how to do that, how to write, how to craft something creatively. This guy sketches stuff out, puts it in stencil, and then crafts that in masterpiece in a masterful way, puts that on a cake. So it's not just this crazy thing, it's a real work of art. And we have to understand that when people make requests of us that we cannot honor, sometimes it's best to tell them, this person over here can do that better than me. You know,
there are those who were part of the radical Republicans of 1875 who attempted to pass through Congress a bill that would require businesses to provide services upon demand for black individuals. That did not pass because those in Congress said it was unconstitutional to force businesses to make decisions that were against it. Are you standing on that same premise, and how do you argue that with those who happen to be on the left who would say well, if it wasn't for the 14th Amendment, if it wasn't for the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and onward, then you, as a black man, would not be able to sit at the counter at Woolworth and get a sandwich.
Oh, that's great. I love those comparisons and analogies, because while those were travesties in our country and we have a stain on the soul of America about where we were, many people got together, they fought, and they continued to do that, and public accommodations were made even back in those times to make sure that blacks could go to a bathroom, that blacks could do certain things and be able to utilize a water fountain over there. And those were things that were wrong. So when you're looking at what's right and what's wrong, and again, we've gotten into a space in this country which we are questioning what is an immutable characteristic. Fundamentally, this is what's at stake, because if you look at it, it was never a question whether somebody was black or somebody was white. That was always known. It was very easily determined. It's an immutable characteristic. Now we have a Facebook who says, what gender are you, or what are you? And it's 55 different categories. So we're saying things that are morphing, things that are not concrete, things that are just very skewed and are still developing. It's like having a definition on something that's undefinable. And it used to be that it was a very definable class, and they righted those wrongs back in the day, and that was the reason why they righted those wrongs, because it was definable. Now we've gotten into this muddy space of saying we don't have a definable characteristic, we don't have a definition of what we're doing, but we want to give this protected class status to everybody and anybody. Well, that's not going to work in America. That's not going to fit the bill. Because then you are right, you could get into a point of selectively offering services to this person or that person, and really being racially motivated and motivated in a wrong way. But the spirit of our Constitution, the spirit of the laws that were written in this land, is about freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of worship, being able to do those things and practice those things and take a deeply held belief that you believe, and saying, I'm practicing this in my business, and I'm practicing this in how I live out my life, and being able to continue to do that, and going to that caveat about the old civil rights days, and said, yeah, it is the thing of saying, you know, hey, what? You may have to selectively say, I can't provide that business service. And that's the great thing about our country. That's the beauty of our country. People start businesses all day long. Somebody else can do that business that they might not be able to do. Matter of fact, Jack asked him, I'll give you anything else. You can buy my cookies, you can buy another cake. I just can't create in an art form something that's going to express what you want, because it innately goes against everything he believes. So, but he did not deny them selling him anything else. He did not deny him giving them a business service. And I think that's where we are. We're talking about somebody to take their own creative, unique abilities and then put a stamp of approval on it. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't ask a Muslim a guy to say, hey, look, stand up and make sure that you are supporting this Christian effort because of this, this, and this. Well, that's wrong. That's his belief. That's his freedom of worship. He says, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in who Jesus was. I believe he was a prophet. He wasn't the Savior. He wasn't the Son of God. Well, that's good. So I think this is the thing, and I could go to other aspects of businesses, but people that go to church run businesses every single day. And we're standing out here because those people in those churches have to have the freedom to express their beliefs and also to do their business the way they need to do it.
Reverend Derek McCoy with Cure in Washington, D.C., right before the U.S. Supreme Court. We want to thank you so much for your time this day, and thank you for your fight for not only civil rights, but constitutional rights and also free markets in America. Take care and God bless.
You got it. Thank you.